discussing about the history of our great America. We're discussing some of the evil things that our government is currently doing to people.
What kind of my image is an anarchy symbol? What kind of my image is an anarchy symbol? What kind of my image is an anarchy symbol? What kind of
time that
my
we
anarchy symbol?
government on.
Yes, my anarchy symbol. My anarchy symbol. Oops, my anarchy symbol. Oops, my anarchy symbol. My anarchy symbol. My anarchy symbol. Oops, my anarchy symbol.
We got to allow kids people to be punk rockers and be radical.
What kind of garbage is the anarchy symbol? What kind of garbage is my anarchy symbol? What kind of garbage is my anarchy symbol? What kind of garbage is my anarchy symbol? Anarchy.
We, as a society, are filled with evil. It's time that we took the government on, and it's time that we got them. What should we do? We gotta start changing our own. We gotta go back to faith in our Lord. We've gotta go back. We gotta allow kids and people to be punk rockers and be radical. We have so that they can learn to fight these evils, and that they can learn to stand up for themselves. You know, punk end up in the Bible. Stand up for yourself. And you'll change. Discussing fortunately a very serious issue. We're continuing to discuss the evils of government. Discussing about the history of our great America. We're discussing some of the evil things that our government is currently doing to people.
What kind of my image is an anarchy symbol? What kind of my image is an anarchy symbol? What kind of my image is an anarchy symbol? What kind of
Time that
my
we
anarchy symbol?
government on.
Yes, my anarchy symbol. My anarchy symbol. Oops, my anarchy symbol. Oops, my anarchy symbol. My anarchy symbol. My anarchy symbol. Oops, my anarchy symbol.
We got to allow kids and people to be punk rockers and be radical.
What kind of garbage is the anarchy symbol? What kind of garbage is my anarchy symbol? What kind of garbage is my anarchy symbol? What kind of garbage is my anarchy symbol? Anarchy.
We, as a society, are filled with evil. It's time that we took the government on, and it's time that we got them. What should we do? We gotta start changing our own. We gotta go back.
Ta-da. Hello. Hello. Oh, I need to close my window. Say. There we go. Hello. How yous doing? Are you ready to look at comics and stuff? Because that's what we're doing today. We're looking at some weird ones, some very popular ones, some I hadn't read until this week. So it should be fun. I crammed as much as I could into this thing. I'm thinking of maybe reformatting this a bit, so rather than killing myself trying to get this done like weekly, I might do it bi-weekly and then chop that into a little video, or a bunch of little videos, make like a bunch of little shorts or something. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff today. We're going over the 1960s to 1980s. Obviously not everything in that time frame, but like the big stuff, big stuff. There's honestly not a lot of like, in terms of like Marvel stuff, there's not a lot of big retcons around this time. So there's like there's obviously one very big one from DC, which we will be looking at. I only read it this week, and my goodness, there are so many characters. It was quite the read. Let's move on. There we go. Oh, Trope, hello, how are you doing? But yeah, last week? Was it really a week ago? Last week, we went over all the retcons I could find at the very start of like the superhero comic scene. You had Superman flying. Excuse me. You had Batman's no-kill rule. You had the establishment of the Silver Age. You had DJ Khaled. And of course, the Green and Grey, the Hulk going from grey to green. So a lot of stuff there. I'm just gonna quickly catch everyone up. So Superman's whole flying thing. There were a number of publications that accidentally showed him flying due to miscommunications between the writer of Superman and different artists and things for promotional material. So that's how he ended up flying. Batman's no-kill rule was brought in to have a nicer, kinder Batman for all the folks in the 50s? No, 40s. Because DC was worried that parents would not want an angry, murderous Batman teaching their kids how to be angry and murderous. And of course the Silver Age, that was brought about when, I think it was The Silence of Innocence or something. It was a book that came out in 1954, I think. And what it basically detailed was that the rise in juvenile crime was not caused by the fact that there were more young people and therefore the statistic would increase. No, it was because of many things, but comic books was one of the ones they blamed. So as a result of that, the Comics Code Authority was brought in so that you had to meet the Comics Code standard in order to publish your book. And what that led to was a lot of very silly, very campy stories. And it also meant that DC sort of retired a good chunk of their existing sphere of like heroes and stuff. So they got rid of Golden Age. Well, they didn't really get rid of Golden Age Superman. They got rid of like the original Flash, original Green Lantern, and replaced them with, and a bunch of others, replaced them with sort of more fitting Comics Code characters. So replacing Jay Garrick, you got like Barry Allen. Replacing Alan Scott, you got Hal Jordan. And this would then go on to be like the the most well-known portrayals of those characters. And of course, Hulk was grey for like one issue, and they couldn't keep him grey because of like a printing issue. They couldn't keep the color consistent, so they went with green for like the second issue. Corruption of the Incident. That, yes, thank you. I'm at work, so sorry if I miss anything. Don't you worry. This is gonna be VOD form, so if you miss anything, it'll be recorded. And also, I think, yeah. Also, any comic book stuff. If people have like recommendations, I always love to hear recommendations for comics. You can have them here or on Twitter. Send me them on Twitter because I will definitely see it there. And most likely see it here also. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Hulk. So he was grey for a total of one issue before they changed him in the next issue to green. And that is how he stayed for like a long time. So now that we're back up to speed with the last stream, we can move on to what we're doing this week. Retcons of the 60s to 80s. Now this obviously isn't, it's obviously not going to be every retcon between the years 1960 to 1990. But it was the ones that I thought were most interesting and the ones that I enjoyed reading about the most. Like sometimes I found for these videos, you'll start looking into something, a transition from old pulp tropes, the golden age, to the atomic and sci-fi inspired silver age. That is a very good way to put it. I've always just sort of they went super campy in silver age, but that is a very nice way to split it up. You got this sort of 1940s hoo-ha World War II style stuff, and then the post-war silly comics where nothing is serious and nobody dies completely. But yeah, we're moving on. So today we have a bunch of stuff to talk about. A lot of it's Captain America. Also, Wolverine is there, and Hulk, and the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I had never read until this week. And there's a lot going on in that story. I'm gonna be honest, it was kind of a lot. At the best of times, I'm not that great at following stories on the first read, and this was especially the case. Especially that. I'm just gonna make sure I have I have a Calliope. What do they call it? Like voice Twitter thing open. I didn't even realize that. Hopefully that's not been playing in the background. My bad. What was? Oh yeah, Crisis. So Crisis is a big ol' event. The first of the big retcons, you might say. Actually, that's not true. The Silver Age was probably, I wouldn't say, no, it wasn't bigger than, because Crisis did something very different compared to moving all of the old characters. Crisis was unique and world industry changing. Secret Wars was amazing response by Marvel. Yeah, oh, I didn't even talk about, oops. I'll add Secret Wars to the next one, because there's a bunch of stuff in that to talk about. Introduces my favorite character, Titania. Not my favorite character, one of my favorite characters. Sorry, I'm just enjoying a nice, lovely, what was that, pork burger. But yeah, so we're going to be starting off, of course, with Captain America. So, in Avengers number 4, Captain America was brought on to the team. He was, in the story, frozen in ice and woken up. They found him in ice. I think it was that... Oh, was it the... don't even remember how they found him. It was like they woke up Namor. No, that's a different thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they found him. He woke up in ice, and then existing readers were like, "What? Why? What? When was he frozen? I was reading him in the 50s. He wasn't frozen." So they had to explain. Although they get frozen in the 50s as well. I have to look up what was the last. Like, I didn't read the 50s Captain America. I read the information around the 50s Captain America for this. But I'll have to give the actual thing a read now, because I want to know, did he actually freeze in the final 1950s anti-communist Captain America comic? Anyway, they found him in ice, and readers were confused because they were like, "What? This is your man. He's been around. He wasn't frozen for 20 years." And so they had to explain that with what ended up being a very convoluted explanation. And a few fossil properties: defining Earth 1 and Earth 2, establishing the multiverse, and then attempting to consolidate it for editorial reasons to make a cleaner, more unified product, and then integrate acquired Charleston and fossil. Yeah. Oh, I can't. I've been reading a lot of Blue Beetle this week because of the whole crisis thing, and Ted Kord is great. I love Ted Kord. He's one of my favorite characters. It's your boy, Cappy A. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Blue Beetle movie. Ted Kord is like one of my favorite DC characters. I think Tim Drake and Ted Kord are like the top there for me. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the messy history of the 1950s Captain America. So they tried to fix it, and then it didn't work, so they tried again. And we'll be looking at that. So yeah, there are far too many Captain Americas. So, in 1949, the Captain America comic ended. Did you ever listen to Blue Beetle radio serials? I did not. I'm gonna have to do that. Wait, is that the different to the animation that DC put out that someone recommended I watch last week? Because I watched that, it was very good. It's like a 60s style Hanna-Barbera cartoon. It's fun. Wait, did Hanna-Barbera do all the Super Friends? Now that I think about it, they must have. Because then they had like Batman, Scooby-Doo crossovers. Sorry, I'm getting off track. So at the end of the 40s, Captain America's comic was ended. They tried to keep it going for a little bit after the war, but people weren't as interested. So that ended. Then they tried to bring it back in 1953, and they had him fighting communists around near the Korean War. So they did that for a little bit, and then once again he went out of syndication. And the explanation for that at the time was that he was frozen in ice, but people were confused, so they separated him. The 50s communist fighting Captain America was a different character. Don't mind the icon on the right there. But yeah, these are some of the American what do you call it? Like American flag character replacements for when Captain America was gone. We'll get to those. So, who was the guy in the 50s dressed as Captain America? If it wasn't Steve Rogers? Well, it was a bunch of people. The first one was in What If Number 4 in 1977. So there was a good chunk of time where they just didn't explain why Captain America was in ice. I think it was... what was it? It was just considered non-canon, the 50s, up until they tried to fix it. So they had this dude, William Nasland, was the Spirit of 76 for like an afternoon before he became Captain America. And I honestly, I just really love, so this is from What If number 4, and I just love the name. So this is Captain America, new Captain America and new Bucky meeting the, what was the World War II, the Invaders? Something like that. The World War II team that was like fighting off Nazis and stuff. So you had Namor there, and you had the original Human Torch, of course, Richard Hammond. No, Richard Hammond is a scientist from BBC. Anyways, what is... they had like, I think Liberty Bell was another character. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, I just love for this that... so that his friends would recognize him, the Spirit of 76 kept his powdered wig and domino mask underneath his Captain America hat. So he's wearing this big wig. I don't know if you can see it in the corner here, the bottom right. Namor's like, what's this? Captain America? That's not him. And your man takes off his mask and he's like, yes, I'm glad you recognized me. It's the Spirit of 76. I even wore my mask and wig just to jog your memories. So he says here it's not like it's his hair. If it was just his hair, maybe that would make sense, you know. But like, he is wearing a wig underneath the Captain America mask. And he's wearing a second mask under the Captain America mask. And he's presumably been wearing it for a while. Because at the point where these guys meet, they just sort of all meet in an office. It's strange. Also, this is like the government decides that the world still needs Captain America, even though later on they'll decide actually they don't need that. It's a bit all over the place. Also, I just wanted to draw attention to Red Skull shooting Baron Zemo. Who was Red in this? I never knew that. He was like originally red. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so obviously this was during the Silver Age when you couldn't kill people. So he shoots he shoots Baron Zemo, and then Baron Zemo falls in a pit, and to save their asses, Red Skull's like, I've shot him with an experimental weapon. It does not kill him, it puts him to sleep for 30 years. Like, this is the lengths they had to go. Hello! It is pre-television. Wait, which was? Hold on. I'm assuming the 1950s. What are you talking about? Wait, hold on. 70. Oh, right. 76 refers to, I guess, 1776 and not 1976, which was the year before this came out. Slightly confusing. Follow you on Twitter if shows you are also in a Twitter. Yeah. So I joined to listen to the Twitter space just before stream, and I didn't want to be rude and leave because it feels, because you can't explain it in a Twitter space that you're like, oh sorry, I have to go do something. It just looks like, oh, I lost interest, I'm going now, bye. So I have it muted on my hotbar. So I am in the thing, yeah, but I'm not like a part of it, like I'm not speaking in it. But yeah, the first Captain America was this dude, William Naslund, who had appeared like, I don't know, twice as the Spirit of 76 before this. Oh, hi Soren, how's it going? Hello Trevor. How's everybody? Yeah, so this was the first of the 50s Captain Americas. So William Naslund dies in the same comic that he's introduced as Captain America. I think in universe he is Captain America for a year, and then he dies in 1946. And then they pass on the mantle to Jeffrey Mace, the Patriot, which is yeah, it's this guy. Nope, not that guy. Jeffrey Mace. And Jeffrey Mace goes on. He does a little better than William Nasland. He lasts a total of 3 years, I think, as Captain America. Before he retires, he chooses to give up the Captain America life. And I don't know, he goes home, has a family, that sort of thing. So, fun fact, none of these guys were the guy from the 50s. This was just the explanation, the in-universe explanation for this guy. Let's see, did I name him here? I did. William Burnside. A lot of Williams in the Captain America lineup. The spirit of 76 refers to 1776, the American Revolution. Yeah. Got the whole Paul Revere thing going on with the powdered wig. So none of these actually took place in the 50s. All the stories of these existing Captain Americas that were supposed to explain Captain America's disappearance between 1945 and what was it? 1964. This only led up to the years between 1945 and 1949, because 5 years prior to the What If number 4, where they introduced Jeffrey Mace as Captain America and William Nasland, they had this guy, William Burnside, who was kind of fucking nuts. What did I write here for him? So, initially he was just like a super fan of Captain America, who decided he wanted to be the new Captain America to replace the one who died in 1945. So he talks to the army, and the army's like, we don't really need a Captain America right now. We're fighting the Korean War, and we don't think a big patriot symbol is what we need right now. So we will take you up on your offer to be Captain America, but we'll put you up as a teacher until we can do something with you, basically. So he becomes his teacher. Based Burnside, yeah. Completely unhinged man. We'll get to that though. It's William Burnside has become one of my favorite characters because he's ridiculous. He is cartoonishly evil. Like the things he does are incredibly bad, like really terrible. But yeah, he's such a strange character. I only vaguely knew of him before this week, and I just want to read a ton more William Burnside comics now, because he's just an awful human being. Let's see, where was I? Yeah, so he was just a random dude that really liked Captain America. So he approached the government, and the government was like, sure, why not? You can be Captain America. So they just like put him up as a teacher. And then at the school he works at, he found a replacement Bucky, who was also a really big fan. Becomes a terribly bad villain. Oh yeah, we're getting there. But what was it? Oh yeah, so Bucky, this dude just picks a child from the school he works at, and makes him new Bucky. And I think Red Skull attacked something. This wasn't the pre-existing Red Skull, I don't think. I think this was the Russian Red Skull at the time. And it was just a mask and not a guy's face. But yeah, so Red Skull attacks something, and then Captain America's like, we need Captain America. So he injects himself and the child Bucky with this untested super soldier serum. And then he goes to fight communists for a couple of years. I think it was for like 4 years or whatever. No, that's not right. 4 issues? I'm not sure. I'll have to check back on that later. Yeah, here we go. Racist Captain America. So, you might be able to guess what's behind. Ooh, what's behind this windmill here? This, so the dodgy super serum that this new captain took, Mr. William Burnside and his pal Bucky, made him kind of crazy, and also Bucky kind of crazy. And as time went on, they became more unhinged, and the government put them on ice for 20 years. And in the 70s, in Captain America 153, I think it was 1972, they wake up and the government wants them to kill Captain America and Bucky. No, Captain America and the Falcon. Because Bucky is not around at this point. And they fail, obviously, and then they get put back in suspended animation. Truly the most historically accurate Captain America, absolutely. I just love the panel on the right there where it's like, I'm gonna blow up Hoover Dam. Like, this man is ridiculous. I mean, he did some not so... You can see his all-white costume there. I bet you can't guess what that's a reference to. Yeah, so later he became a Nazi, like a proper, actual swastika-wearing Nazi. And he helped this white nationalist group convert more people to become Nazis. Until he figures out that being a Nazi is bad, and then he uses a little button on his belt that explodes his body into fire. And so he dies. Kind of. And that's the story of William Burnside. He comes up a few times, on occasion, in later stories. But other than that, he's just sort of around. He dies sometimes, comes back. He wears all white. He's got like, is that white? That is just a terrible costume. I mean, I know it's meant to be, but like, from a practical point of view, that's gonna get really dirty. Anyways, Wolverine's claws used to be part of his gloves. I couldn't find the source for this, so this is the whole thing. He just had a suicide belt. Yep. He just had like a belt that made him blow up. In case he felt bad later about being a Nazi, I guess. He's a reformed Nazi, kind of. He's still... I would highly recommend The 12 by Marvel. Ooh, I will give that a read after this, for sure. So, yeah, so in the comic that he first appears, Burnside just like attacks a random black man. So he was always kind of racist. But like he goes full super duper racist. Wolverine also looked very different unmasked. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, so I wrote all of the topics that I was going to talk about like 3 weeks ago on a big sheet of paper. And then I went back, of course, and I started reading this stuff as I had time to do it. And I cannot for the life of me figure out where I got this piece of information. The Wolverine's claws used to be part of his gloves. All, from what I remember reading, whatever it was, is that it was the dude that introduced him in the Hulk just thought it's going to be gloves. And then, yeah, honestly, always be prepared. I've learned now, always, it doesn't matter how far along you are, you gotta save your sources. Because otherwise you're going to lose stuff. And then you end up here. But from what I remember, maybe this is all baloney. I don't know. I haven't read any comics that state this officially. I haven't read any... You know, Jim Shooter has a blog, by the way. Sorry, this is off track. Jim Shooter, the ex-editor for Marvel. That's the America I know. What was it? Jim Shooter, yeah. So he started writing for Marvel when he was like 14, and then he became the editor-in-chief in his, I think, 30s or 20s. So he did comic book stuff basically all his life. I was talking about the suicide belt. Oh. Yo. Of course. Yeah, Jim Shooter. I really want to do something on him because he has been doing comic book stuff for a long time. Like, he was editor-in-chief in the, I think, 90s, definitely, and then... Wait, was he might have been editor during the whole Clone Saga thing. I think he either left during the Clone Saga or came in during the Clone Saga. I'll have to check that. But Jim Shooter's a really interesting guy, and he has like a website that's just full of just like blog posts. He's just talking, which is very cool. It's really hard to find any sort of interviews with like comic writers or staff at the time, because it's not something that people are that like. It's an extremely niche group who are interested in that. And I am that group. So I find what I can where I can. But that blog's been very useful. New Universe. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Which, what did I say in reference to a New Universe verse? But yeah, so the thing with Wolverine is that originally when he first appeared fighting the Hulk, the knives were going to be just a thing, part of his gloves. He took the gloves off, the knives came off. Knives? Claws. But in, I think, Giant-Sized X-Men #1, he was shown specifically with his like claws popping out or something, or he says it or something. I couldn't find any of this, so I will go on a hunt to find this piece of information that I originally read, and if I do find the thing, I'll turn it into a short, because I think this is it's fun stuff. It's not necessarily like world-changing information, but it's excuse me, it's a fun little thing if it's true. Oh yeah, I just put this here as a preamble, because now we're going into the main event, Crisis. So, for anyone who wasn't here, like, how long ago was it? 30 minutes ago, when I reminded everyone what the Silver Age was. The comics, there was a set of set of rules that were brought in order for your comic to be able to be published around in 1954, and from that point on was considered the Silver Age because of the big changes that went on within the stories, as well as the tone shift in the stories at that time. So so in the Silver Age had a lot of multiverse stories. It had a lot of silly clickbait stories. It had Superman shooting tiny doll copies of himself out of his hands. It was a crazy time. Oh yeah, he had super ventriloquism was like a frequent reoccurring power that Superman had during this time period. Unfortunately, he lost that in the next thing we're going to talk about. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Ooh, that's not even a panel from Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's from like a Jeff Johns thing, I think. But yeah, coming out of the marking the end of the Silver Age, sort of DC, specifically I think it was Marv Wolfman, wanted to simplify the DC landscape for readers because it was too much to follow, having Earth 2 stories and Earth 1 stories. Marvel had their own universe called New Universe, completely unconnected from Marvel 616, with original heroes. It was Shooter's brainchild. Oh, I'm gonna have to read up on that. I'm learning new stuff all the time. I think that's my favorite thing of this, of looking into all this stuff, is that there's so much that I do not know about comics, and it is so much fun learning this stuff. Like, Booster Gold's dad is like not a supervillain, but he's like also kind of a supervillain. It's it's a complicated thing. Like Booster, most of the time, parents in comics are just like, "I love you" or "I'm dead," and those are the two sort of categories. Like Hal Jordan, his dad. Most of Superman's parents and planet. Spider-Man, of course. It's just if you keep going, most superheroes have like one parent that's not around or something. So having Booster Gold's dad be like a time traveling dude was interesting to find out. But yeah, Crisis. So Marv Wolfman wanted to simplify the whole thing, make it super accessible for readers, because otherwise you have to like keep up with 20 years of comics, and they weren't being published all the time, of course. So it wasn't really possible. So what they did was they tried to flatten everything down into one universe, and they did that with Crisis. So Crisis did a lot of retcons, which is what we're here for. The big one they did was they sort of mushed the Booster Goals related to Rip Hunter? What? Oh no. Okay, what? I did not know that. That's cool. I knew they like hung out and they were like time warrior buddies, but I did not know they were like related. What was I saying? Golden Age. Yes, so one of the big things that came out of Crisis was they mashed all of the history of the Golden Age and the Silver Age together. And what that did was it made for a lot of inconsistencies going forwards. A lot of characters had like messed up backstories, or there were certain characters that because of I think they mashed it up so a total of like 5 years had passed in DC. No, I'm thinking of Flashpoint and the New 52. That was also very messy, and we will eventually talk about that. But yeah, they mashed together the histories that of what were like two separate universes into one. See, there were some inconsistencies, like Wonder Woman got a new origin again, so that messed up Donna Troy, which we talked about a lot last time, which resulted in Donna Troy's origin being like rewritten again from what was it? Orphan baby saved from fire by Wonder Woman to orphan baby saved from fire by, I think, Titan. One of the Titans, in term like the Greek Titans, not the superhero Titans. And then she grew up with like Destiny powers as like a sleeper agent or something. I can't entirely remember. Yeah, the whole thing was a very big event. It was 12 issues, and it was every character was there. Well, not every character. A lot of characters were there. You got Superman from Golden Age. You got Superman from Silver Age. You got Pariah. Everyone's favorite Pariah, who was just a dude that he was like a scientist, and he went from universe to universe, watching universes explode, and he was really upset about it. But yeah, they fight this dude on the right, the Anti-Monitor, for a while, and the Anti-Monitor kind of wins, kind of. All the universes are gone, and so the opposite of the Anti-Monitor, which is the Monitor, which is a dude, not a screen, he facilitates the creation of a new world. So all the people who are left alive after Crisis are put on one Earth, and it's like hodgepodge together, like Secret Wars, but with dinosaurs. Actually, there might have been dinosaurs in Secret Wars. Wow! Look at Superman, he's so sad. So, after Crisis, there was a new Flash, because the existing Flash, died, kind of. Barry Allen ran into the universe to swap the polarity of like a giant telephone pole. It was a whole thing. And so they needed a new Flash, and Kid Flash took up the mantle of the Flash, which he maintained from 1985 to like 2006, I think, around then. So he was the Flash for a long time. They also mixed in Fawcett and Charlton. Yeah, that's the best part, honestly. They got my man Captain Marvel in here. They got my man Ted Kord. I can't wait for the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing Blue Beetle do fighting stuff, and for people to know who Blue Beetle is. Oh, there's gonna be an influx of like those clickbait YouTube videos where it's like, did you know? Blue Beetle in the new Blue Beetle movie was not the first Blue Beetle. In fact, there was Tom Garrett, or whatever his name was, Bill Garrett, I can't remember. It's too many names. Who was originally bought an old ancient beetle from a salesman who stole it from an Egyptian temple, no, Mayan temple, and he used it to become a superhero. And then he hung it up, and Ted Kord took over, but he couldn't get the beetle to work until he died. And then there was Jaime, who was also there. He's a fun character. I like Jaime a lot. He reminds me of, obviously Jaime came first, but what was the name of that character who's like, DC brought him in recently. He was like a young dude who has the power to teleport by opening rifts. And he looks sort of like Spider-Man with his costume, but blue and green. Very cool guy. I think they canceled his comic sort of early on, like for like 10 issues or something. Not a lot. It's very unfortunate. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Hawkman. Hawkman had different origins on Earth 1 and 2. So when they merged Earth 1 and 2, he had both of these origins. So they had to clean it up. So they made it so there was a Hawkman in ancient Egypt, and there was an alien hawk human man from another planet. Yeah, the Thanagarians are like hawk people. They have big wings that come out of their bodies. And then the ancient Egyptian Hawkman is like a reincarnated dude who's fated to always find his lovely wife and then die. Young Spider-Man, Invincible? No, but Invincible's good too. The name that comes to mind is Slide, but that's not who it is. Slide is a Spider-Man villain. That reminds me, I can't believe this Spot of all people is gonna be in the new Spider-Man movie. Like, I remember when it was announced, people were like, whoa, this is gonna be like nothing anyone's ever seen. The Spot is one scary dude. And then, if you've read anything with the Spot, you would know he's just like a goofy scientist who accidentally turned himself into like a dude with a bunch of spots. But like, he's not a scary guy. He was never a scary guy. He was meant to be an assassin for Spider-Man, hired by Fisk or something, by Kingpin. And obviously he didn't succeed. But yeah, just the idea that like all these YouTube theory crafters were like, he's this big scary man, he's gonna be the main antagonist, he's gonna be so scary in the show, in the movie. And it's just like, have you seen this man? His power is that he throws arms, kind of. No, that's not his. Like, he has a bunch of portals on his body. That's his thing. Which could be scary, but they don't use it to be scary. He's no answer. You know who I want in the next in some sort of movie? Clue Master. I want specifically the Batman version of the Clue Master. This very large man whose whole thing is technically not riddles. I want him to come after the Riddler in the most recent Batman movies. Like, after fighting the Riddler, there's the Clue Master, who is technically different because he doesn't wear green, he wears brown, which is a much better color. Everyone loves brown. Nobody likes green. Everyone's favorite color is brown. That's why you want to make a super villain costume out of brown. The dude literally just wore like a burlap sack. That was his costume. Yeah, that the Batman show. It's a good show. I had a lot of fun with it. Bane in it is really strange though. He's like, he has nothing to do with the Bane from the regular DC stuff. I don't even know if he's like a fully developed character in any capacity. He rarely speaks, and he doesn't really do much besides like turn into a giant dude. That's his character in the show. He's like a henchman sometimes. But you know, because of them having Bane, they got to put a robot Batman suit in the show. That was pretty cool. Why am I talking about the Batman TV show from 2005? I don't know. We're supposed to be talking about Crisis. Superman lost all of his funny powers in Crisis. He can no longer shoot little men out of his hands. He can no longer throw the symbol from his chest, like in the movie, in Superman 2, 3, with Christopher Reeves. Oh, I miss Christopher Reeves. That poor fella. Great Superman though. I grew up watching that movies and he was great. I watched, oh, what was it? Which one is it where Superman fights like a robot woman? Those movies. It's not technically Cyborg Superman. Well, it's because it's never Superman, but what am I talking about? Why am I talking about this? Yeah, Christopher Reeves is cool. It was nice to see him sort of pass the mantle, not just in Smallville to Tom Welling. Not Justice League villain Cluemaster was blonde with an orange outfit and a band handkerchief over the lower half of his face. Yeah, that's him. That's him. And in the Batman, he is a triangle-shaped man who wears all brown and kidnaps like game show contestants because he lost a game show or something. I don't know. Superman 3. Oh yeah, he lost, Superman lost his like time travel powers that he had at this point in time. He could, if it demanded, rewind time with his... Oh wait, was that just the movies? I looked at a big long list of all Superman's powers from the Silver Age and they just sort of melded together, so... He had a lot of them. He had a lot of weird powers. Like, he had telekinesis for a bit. He had, like, super maths. Mathematics. That's what it was. Super mathematics, where he would just... he counted all the beans in a jar. Using his super mathematics. And of course, super ventriloquism was a staple. During the Silver Age, he would throw his voice. He was a well-established ventriloquist. What else have we not talked about? The Legion of Super... Oh yeah, so in Crisis, one of the big things was they got rid of course, old versions of characters, and one of those old versions of characters was the teenage version of Superman, Superboy. So this big group who comic people will recognize, but people who don't read comics probably won't, called the Legion of Superheroes, who is like a super team from 1,000 years in the future who are all just really, really big fans of Superman, specifically Superboy. So when they erase Superboy in Crisis, they technically erase a lot of the reason the Legion of Superheroes should be together, but they fix this later, so it's great. They gave a more scientific explanation of Superman's powers post-Crisis, and they changed up Krypton's culture. Kryptonians couldn't leave Krypton because their DNA was coded in a way which they would die if they did so. Oh. That's rough. And needlessly complicated. What? Why did they go with that? That's so strange. Legionnaire ring. Yeah, those are cool. I kind of want to get one. You know what? Next cosplay I'm going to do, Booster Gold. I think that'd be fun. I don't think I'm tall enough. It's the only thing. Booster's a very tall man. Ooh, you know what? I've talked about this a few times. I don't know if I've talked about it on stream, but the Legend of Tomorrow TV show had Donald Faison, I think that's how you say it, as Booster Gold for an episode before the show got cancelled. And obviously it's the CW show, so the script wasn't very good, but I think he would be perfect as like a live action Booster Gold going forward. I mean, they definitely won't do it because James Gunn's gonna do his own thing. And oh, my throat's getting all hoarse now. Sorry about that. Yeah, it'd be so cool to see him come back and get to actually like wear the costume and stuff. I think he's a fantastic actor and he did really well in the role. Why do I sound like a dark elf? What is this? Ugh. A Drylander. Ugh. Outlander, not Drylander. Wait, he's not Aquaman? What was I talking about? Legionnaires and Booster Gold. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing a live action Ted Cord and a live action Booster Gold. I hope that maybe they do some, because in the Beetle movie, Ted Cord's probably gonna die. Oh, hold on, at the mute. Sorry for that.
Fortunately, a very serious issue. We're continuing to discuss the evils of government. Discussing about the history of our great America. We're discussing some of the evil things that our government is.
Sorry for that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Ted Cord. And because this is a Jaime Reyes movie, the Blue Beetle movie, Ted Cord's probably not gonna be around for much of it, if you know what I mean. So hopefully they do like a flashback thing, and Ted Cord gets to hang out with Booster Gold in the past, or something. Ugh. Why is my throat dying? Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask, how's the background music volume? I noticed last stream it wasn't very good, so I turned it up. Hopefully it's not been too loud and distracting. Why is my throat dying on me? This is incredibly inconvenient. Sorry, I didn't mean for my mic to pick that up. The water seems to have fixed it for the moment. Alright, let me look at something. Okay, so we'll go back to talking about Crisis stuff. So Crisis messed up a lot of people's backstories. It killed a lot of people. It merged the different universes into one universe to make it much more much easier to just pick up and read a DC comic. And DC would sort of keep doing this every few years because they don't know what to do with their comics to make it both accessible and build like a story. Personally, I think what they should just do is do what IDW does, or has done with Transformers, and have like a 12-year run where they build up the universe, they have different stories, and then it ends. The universe ends, and they just start from the beginning. And while the old IDW stuff is kind of hard to get a hold of, how could Wonder Woman fight in World War II? Yeah, that's one of the things that comes up, because the Silver Age Wonder Woman never did that, of course. That was all Golden Age Wonder Woman. I think they made it her mom. Oh, yeah, that'll work. There's a lot of like character retcons I'm going to be going into for next stream that were affected by Crisis. So I'm gonna have to make a big list of those because there's a lot of like inconsistencies and stuff. I tried to keep it to recognizable names for people who aren't like big comic readers, because like the Legion of the Superheroes was about as far as I was willing to go with unrecognizable names. Because I don't want to alienate people. It's a lot of learning to happen. I want this to be fun and approachable, and like it'd be cool if people started reading comics more. Do that. Yeah. What was I talking about? Crisis. Yeah, there was like a bunch of it was very messy. It fixed a lot of things, but it also created new problems. So we'll talk about that a bit next time as well. But Marvel stuff. This is gonna be our, I think, last bit. So, of course, we mentioned earlier that Hulk was originally gray for a total of 1 issue, but due to printer issues, they changed it to green. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so the reason they made him gray in the first place was because Stanley didn't want him to be any recognizable ethnicity, which is kind of cool. He's like he's just like a monster guy. Continuity changes caused by Crisis. Yeah, there are a lot of those. So, Gray Hulk, or Joe Fixit. There he is in the top. This isn't the issue where he's introduced. I just thought it was funny that like knockoff Dio was restraining Grey Hulk with like rainbows. I have no idea what. I didn't read this issue, but like that is definitely Dio, right? There's no way it's not. Anyways, so Hulk was gray, but he's green now. And in issue 324 of Incredible Hulk, they explain it. So the Hulk is basically trying to cure himself, and he hits himself with a magic curing beam. And instead of curing himself, what it does is turn Rick Jones, his friend, he has a like teenage sidekick sort of thing. I don't entirely understand the purpose of Rick Jones, other than he's like a kid appeal character. Rick Jones appears a lot in Marvel stuff, just as like he becomes an ex machina so frequently. Like there was a period of time where he was like half of Captain America, kind of. Not Captain America, Captain Marvel. He was sort of like that, and that is going to be the basis of the Captain Marvel movie, which is coming out. The Marvel Family movie, which I am really excited for. It looks really good. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Rick Jones. Rick Jones is just a dude who's done everything. He's been Bucky. He's been he's been trapped in space while Captain Marvel fights where he was in space. He's also been a Hulk. Rick Jones was Nomad. What? I am just learning this. I did not know that. He was Nomad? That's weird. He was Abomination. He was, well, A-Bomb. And for this issue, he's just like Big Hulk man. Rick Jones gets turned into a Hulkified Rick Jones as an after effect of the attempt to get rid of the Hulk. Bruce Banner tries to cure himself of being the Hulk, and instead of doing that, what he does is he awakens the Grey Hulk, and he turns Rick into a Hulk. Oh, you know what I never mentioned in the 60s. Like this is the 60s one. I can do it now. So there was no like manual when they were making this stuff at the very start in the 60s. Like in when Stan Lee was making superhero stuff, he didn't have I'm assuming he didn't have a dossier of just everything he'd said or whatever. And sometimes what he would do is he would accidentally call Bruce Banner Bob Banner, and people were sending letters in saying, hey, you called him the wrong name. So they retroactively changed his name to Robert Bruce Banner. His full name is that. So sometimes he's Bruce, sometimes he is Robert Bruce, sometimes he's Bob Bruce, sometimes he's just Bob if you look at the very, very old stuff. But Jones hung out with Rom the Space Knight, What? Is that a character? Oh my goodness. I need to learn so much. Rom the Space Knight. That's a new one. Oh, you know what I need to do more of, actually. I need to finish the Team America one. There is a crazy, I think I talked about this briefly in the Team America stream. So, quick recap, Team America is a team of mutant motorcycle riding, not superheroes, they're just sort of guys who sometimes fight supervillains by accident. They don't go out of their way to save people. It's just something that sort of happens to them. So they're just like motorcycle dudes who do stunts, and they travel the country doing stunts. And they had like a 12-issue series that was really bad. Well, it wasn't really bad. It was very... It was a tie-in comic book for a toy that was coming out to replace the Duke Devlin toys when not Duke Devlin, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh character, Evil Knievel. Evil Knievel went to jail for assault, and so a toy company could no longer use the face of Evil Knievel on their... They didn't want to. They could, but they didn't want it to be associated with a dude that assaulted a guy. So they created this new team called Team America. They were motorcyclists, and they just like came to Marvel, who had previously done an Evil Knievel one-off. Rom was also a toy. Oh, cool! They are re-releasing Rom the Space Knight in the new omnibus, the Romnibus. Nice. That'll be a chance for me to familiarize myself with this Mr. Rom, the Space Knight. Sounds interesting. Oh, that reminds me. What are they gonna do with Dane Whitman? It looks like it could be interesting, but I don't know. The Eternals did not give me a lot of hope for Dane Whitman. Micronauts also have a toy line in the mainstream Marvel. That makes sense, because they seemed incredibly ill-fitting in the rest of the Marvel universe. That if that's where they came from, that makes sense. Yeah. Godzilla was in Marvel. Yeah, Marvel were like commissioned to make a lot of comics back in the day. I think they did G.I. Joe as well, and they did, of course, I talked about the M&M ones and the Audi comic book, and FaZe Clan. No, FaZe Clan was DC. Yeah, there's a lot of history with comic books selling children toys, which is kind of messed up. It's a good thing they can't do that anymore. Comic books are a mess at the moment. I don't know. You can't buy them physically anywhere. For me, I can't. Where I live. And I feel like a big part of that is how expensive they are to produce. So it's a bigger risk for someone just going over to pick up a comic. Especially if they're pumped out and the stories are maybe ranging in quality, we'll say. Because they have to meet like monthly demands. Monthly releases and stuff. It just makes me so sad that they don't just go with a cheaper way of producing the books to bring the price down and make it more accessible. Like, not everybody, the manga is super popular, and it is much cheaper to produce because they just do black and white. Do you have a Discord? I do not have a Discord, but I am in, I think, one of the flavor Discords. Let me check which one. Oop. Alright, I'm trying to scroll. Let me see, I'm in... Oh, I don't think I'm in any of the, like... Oh no, I'm in the Flavor Official Unofficial Fan server. but I do not have a dedicated Discord. I don't think I have the, the free time to run a Discord of my own, unfortunately. Maybe someday. But yeah, the official unofficial Discord is a good one. It's a lot of nice folks in there. What was I talking about? I'd love to chat with you about this stuff and send you references. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, always up for talking about comic book stuff. What was I talking about before? Hulk. Oh yeah, just the whole thing of, I think if they, I don't know, I obviously don't know anything about the production of comics. I don't know what goes into it. I don't know anything about the production of manga, but it seems to be the case that manga can put like full stories together in a little book for a much lower price than single issue comics sometimes. So it makes sense to me if they did that comics, where they had the option to buy it in black and white form and they sold it like that, and it would be a much more accessible way to do it, because you could have like a ton of issues in one little book and you'd be grand. Like at the moment, obviously the way it's set up, I don't know what way they do it, where it's like maybe they have to pay colorists or something for unions, or I don't know what it is, but it boggles my mind that they have not done any black and white stuff. Like they've done Black, White and Red, which was a series, but that was still done in color. It still had red in it. Like, and it was a very detailed book. Honestly, I think Black, White and Red, the Wolverine one was quite good. And I read a little bit of the Carnage one, and honestly, I'm not a big Carnage fan anyway, so I wasn't that drawn in by it. The art is really good though. What are they talking about? Oh yeah, comic stuff. Yeah, I just think they should give it a try, you know. Put out one, like, I don't know, 3 lines of comics, all in black and white in little books, instead of the little thin issues that you get, and see if people like it. I don't know, it makes sense to me. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, sorry. Hulk, he's grey, then he's green, then he's grey again, and then he became officially Joe Fixit in issue 347 of Incredible Hulk. I think they changed writers in between 324 and 347, so this new writer was using, I think Grey Hulk became like the main Hulk for a while. Like if you look at the issue covers for like the next, I want to say 40 issues, it's all Grey Hulk. And he was a mob enforcer in Las Vegas. What a turn. He goes from Jekyll and Hyde horror character to superhero Green Bean to Avenger to both grey and green, when he gets split up by first a gamma ray that's meant to cure Hulk, and then after that by Doc Samson, when he tries to like separate the personalities of Bruce and organize them so they can reintegrate. That was a whole thing, by the way. He has a dissociative identity disorder, which is kind of cool, because I never expected that to be in like a comic, especially not like the Hulk. But it makes sense. He was the part of the new Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider. Yeah, that's such a cool team. I mean, I don't entirely understand why they would be the Fantastic Four. At that point, they're kind of just the Defenders, but sure. For marketing reasons, they are the Fantastic Four. I mean, I know the Defenders are a very specific team, where it's like summoned by... well, no, it's not always summoned by like magic people, but Doc Samson. Yeah, I really like Doc Samson. He's a cool character. I quite enjoyed his stuff in Immortal Hulk. I hope they do something with him and Sasquatch post Immortal Hulk. Hulk's background had a lot to do with, yeah, he did not have a nice dad. Bad time to be little Bruce Jr. Not Bruce Jr. Young Bruce. His mom died, and then his dad was crazy. It was not a fun time. And so he developed this second personality, which is like the green angry Hulk, as a child. This is actually another retcon. I think it was Immortal Hulk that brought this in. No, it might have been this issue. 347? Yeah, 347. It might have been. Well, my brain is fried, honestly. But yeah. I might make these like shorter videos because I feel like I might be spreading myself too thin. I feel like I'm not giving as in-depth of background information for each of these things as they deserve. But also, maybe having it be not as in-depth is more accessible. I don't know. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, there's a bunch of like Hulk personalities. Like there's World Breaker Hulk, there is Baby Angry Hulk, there is Joe Fixit, there is of course Bruce Banner, there's the Demon Hulk, which is a cool guy. And then after Immortal Hulk, they made it weird, and like the Hulk is now a mech pilot inside his own brain. And that is where they lost me. I love mecha stuff, but honestly it wasn't even that. But yeah, Devil Hulk is cool. I like Devil Hulk. He's not even like a bad guy. He's like he just looks scary. Skulk. There's Clue, who's like was that when he feared itself to himself, and he had like the evil Thor hammer. What was I talking about? Wait, I haven't talked about Donald Blake at all. When did Donald Blake get retconned? I need to look into that. I don't know how I missed that. Donald Blake's whole thing is that originally he was like Odin imbued Thor's powers onto the hammer, and whoever picked up the hammer got the power of Thor. And Donald Blake was this scientist who, was he a doctor? No, I think he was a scientist. No, he might have been, no, I think he was a doctor. And he had his hammer could turn into a cane, so nobody know it was him. And he would turn into Thor and swing his hammer and fly off. And then that was changed at a later point. So actually, Donald Blake was a separate guy, and Thor was also a separate guy, I think. And then they changed it again. So Donald Blake never existed, and it was actually Thor who had been convinced he was Donald Blake. I'm not sure if that's the correct order. He was a medical doctor. There we go. Yeah, so Donald Blake is an interesting dude. MCU Hulk has been done dirty. Kind of, yeah. They've definitely not picked any, like... He hasn't been given much of a chance to show off all the cool stories he has. Like, the leader kind of got... he was like teased in 2008, but then he never materialized. Is twerking a superpower all Hulks have, or is that a She-Hulk thing? I think most of them, yeah, most of them do have that. You know, they're built different, as they say. Donald Blake became Thunderstrike. Is that on a separate guy? Okay, right, yeah. That might... and then his son also became Thunderstrike after that. I only vaguely remember Thunderstrike. There was like, he had like Blood Axe as his main antagonist or something, who was like Evil Thor, but not the existing Evil Thor that was. Wait, who am I thinking of? There's Ragnarok Thor, which is a different guy. He's a robot. He's not even really evil, he's just like a robot. Programmed to be shitty Thor. Who was I thinking of? I suppose the Executioner he's meant to. Blood Axe was meant to be like the Executioner, but for Thunderstruck. Edgy, modern Thor. Yeah. He had a ponytail and a beard. Wait, are you sure Donald Blake was Thunderstrike? I thought that was a different guy. Like a separate dude. Because there was like a dude who became Thor during the Infinity Saga, I think it was. And a different dude fought Thanos. It wasn't Thor, it was a different guy fused with Thor. And I think that guy became Thunderstrike. I might be wrong. I might be misremembering. It could be Donald Blake with Thunderstrike. Green Scar. Oh yeah. There's Hulk has a kid. That'd be interesting. It seems like they're setting up the Young Avengers, which is cool. With all the Marvel cinematic movie stuff. Evil Thor Android was made Ragnarok after Civil War. I was just calling him Ragnarok Thor because I came across him first in, I think, a Lego game. And then I started reading comics. You know what? I need to play the Lego games. The Lego Marvel games. They're good. The second Marvel game has some dodgy voice acting, but other than that, the actual game is fun. What's this there? DC Supervillains is also a really good game. I was surprised. It's sort of smaller scale than the other. Well, in terms of like actual map size, it's smaller, but the game is much bigger in scope. It introduces the multiverse. It's just a silly fun time. Eric Masterson, that's who it was. Yes. Professor Hulk is the weakest Hulk. That's fair. Yeah, Professor Hulk. They did something similar to Professor Hulk recently where Bruce Banner is like in control of the Hulk, but it's in a way where on the inside of the Hulk, Bruce imagines the Hulk as like a giant machine, and the consciousness that is the angry Hulk bit is like shoveling coal into the engine to keep the Hulk going. It's a strange comic. Lots of confusing Thor. Yeah, honestly, Thor's backstory is kind of confusing. It gets changed so much. Like, he was a regular guy who picked up the hammer, then he was actually a god the whole time. Then he gets, like, used with Eric Masterson. It's busy. And then there's, of course, Odin's son, who is not Thor, but is Thor. Like, the name Thor was stripped of him, and he was just Odin's son. Is it the current Thor run where, like, he becomes Iron Fist? Well, not, like, exactly Iron Fist, but... like, he doesn't use the hammer anymore. The hammer is just, like, a companion now. It's a separate character, and it just floats around with him. There are a lot of Hulk fusions close to Professor Hulk, like the Green Grave Banner fusion. What? Oh, I need to look into that. Minus Ball of Destruction was more effective. Honestly, I prefer when the Hulk can think and do stuff. Because when you're reading so many Hulk comics, it can be very frustrating when this silly baby minded man keeps getting himself in trouble. Like, fun to read the first 20 or so times, but after a certain point, it's like, I miss when Hulk could think and didn't just get himself into trouble all the time. Because he has the mind of a baby, basically. A big angry baby. And that's not all that, there's not much you can really do that in terms of like character growth. If he grows, he's no longer the baby. But people like the like Hulk smash sort of thing. Hulk comics got super trippy. Yeah, honestly, I love the 50 issues of Immortal Hulk. That was the thing that got me really into comics because it was so different to anything I'd seen up to that point. And unfortunately for me, that was not the status quo. That was an anomaly. So yeah, they got me hooked, and then they left me. Just sad. What was it I want? In some tellings, the hammer is just for controlling his power. Yeah. I think it's the current run, he doesn't use the hammer. He just punches people with his fists, and the hammer is like a cheerleader, sort of. It's a fun idea. I like it. I like anything where the characters develop, because so frequently in comics do the characters not develop. It is just, I'm the same character I was 30 years ago, but this week I'm fighting the Trapster, or... Bet you can't tell I'm talking about there, but yeah, it's a big problem in comics because they can't let stories end, so they have to trap people mentally in like one time period. So Spider-Man is forever going to be a dude who loses and who is racked with guilt, despite having been like a billionaire who could have, I don't know, gone to a therapist, had like a healthy mental state at some point. And yeah, I read that already. Sorry. What was I doing? Honestly, I think maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I think they should stick to exclusively making like what are they called? Not Elseworlds, world stories. The Marvel equivalent. Like, I think we have enough Marvel history now. We don't need any more. We just need stories that have a beginning and an end, so that you can give them to people, and people can pick up the comics. They don't need 30-40 years of history to understand why is Ruby Thursday the way she is. Why is she a woman with a giant red ball on her head? Like, none of that. It's just, you start the story, it explains the things that are relevant to the story in ways that are not obtuse, and then the story ends, and it doesn't need to go on forever. Odin gave Thor the hammer to get control of his lightful power. Yeah, and yeah. I don't know what else to say to that. What was I talking about? I was talking about, yeah, the comic should have an ending, and most Marvel and DC stuff does not have an ending. It is just to be continued, and I find that very irritating. That's why I really like I think it was Alex Ross's Marvel, the Marvels and Earth X, all that. It's really nice. It's self-contained. It ends. It's great. You can pick it up at number 1 and finish reading it at like number 10, and then you don't have to read wiki pages to understand what's going on. I mean, maybe you do for certain bits, but like that was very much there was a lot of characters in that might have needed some context. The thing is that there are a number of different origins and paths, and the most fit ideas become canon. All the ridiculous stuff gets shaved down and codified in fixed media. Yep. That's why I like when it's like multiverse stuff. Like the... I think... Good example. I read recently. Yeah, I like when things take place in a different universe, because then the writer's often allowed to end the story with it. But that's the end of my rant about. By the way, no idea how to get to the oh, here, let me. I mean, I'm gonna sleep after this, but if you want to talk about comics later on, I would definitely be down for that. I enjoy Quantum Media. Yeah, there were parts of it I liked. I couldn't get as invested in it as I would have liked to. I actually, the Ant-Man movies, Ant-Man 1 and 2 are some of my favorite Marvel movies, which is maybe weird to say, because I know people aren't huge fans of those, but I don't know. I've always just been a big fan of Ant-Man as a character, and I like the small scale story, especially the first Ant-Man was quite good. And like Darren Cross is just like comically evil, but he's also not like, I don't know, irredeemable. Irredeemable. That's weird. You know who? I don't know if they're gonna do Eric O'Grady, but I kind of hope they do. I mean, maybe not all of his personality, but at least you're not DC. Can't go here without starting over. For real. I think they did a recent one, didn't they? It was Future State or something? Is that a few years ago now? I'm not sure. They did Rebirth, of course, in like 2017, and then they did another one not too long ago. And I think they reverted that, and now everything is technically canon. I think it's a lot. Actually, you know what? Eraserhead was a character who I think has done well in all the redos. Wait, has he done worse or done? I can't remember what order it was. His origins went. He's not got much screen time. Not screen time. He's in a comic. He's appeared very infrequently. He's not like, I don't think he even had like any speaking lines in the most recent appearance he had. He just got like caught by Batman or something. That reminds me, I really want to read, I think it's Detective Comics, the one where it's like Clayface and Batwoman and Orphan and Red Robin are all on like a team and they solve mysteries and stuff. It sounds fun. So it sounds like a really interesting thing that they did. I want to read that. What time is it now? I'm gonna 30. Yeah, I might call it here. Let me just do these last few slides before I go. Oh, that is the last one. Yeah, so here's a little collage of just silly panels I liked. I especially quite like the Thor one in the top left. I have feasted on the nectars of wild fruits in the lands of the Norns. I have dined in the exalted halls of the godly realms. This day, I am offered a creamsicle. Then I think that's Doc Ock. He's like, please give me a piece of that chicken, I'll explain everything. Oh. Comics are weird. They're good weird though. I like them. They can be frustrating at times because with the changing writers, the writers control what is and is not canon, and if they don't like a piece of canon, they can just change it, which then creates new issues with the existing canon, which the next writer will presumably try to change. Like the whole... Oh, not Chip Zdarsky. What was the name of the dude who did not Sins of the Past, who undid Sins of the Past? The Amazing Spider-Man run with like Ben Reilly and stuff. Honestly, at least you're not. Oh yeah, sorry, I read that already. I don't know. I'll talk about all that another time because it's a mess. Nick Spencer, that's what his name is. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of his stuff. Although there was like one panel in Sinister War that looked really cool, but also I thought Sinister Wars was completely unnecessary. So this is potato shimato. Alright, I'm gonna go eat food and then sleep. I am DP on YouTube. Oh, hello DP. Alrighty, I'm gonna go now. Everyone have a nice afternoon, or morning, or night, or I don't know, if you're in like a time frozen chamber, I hope you have a nice time frozen time. Goodbye.
Fortunately, a very serious issue. We're continuing to discuss the evils of government. Discussing about the history of our great America. We're discussing some of the evil things that our government is currently doing to people.